and welcome to Training Tuesday. It is Tuesday night. It is 6 p.m. here on the East Coast, and it is cold. My cat keeps yowling at me to go out, and every time I open the door, he just stands in the doorway, and then he turns around, comes right back in, which is kind of how we're all feeling these days. Winter is finally here. It's taken a while. December was kind of warm. But now we are in winter, and now tonight we are here to talk about our third eye chakra. To talk about what it means to access the energy that influences our intuition, our sense of wisdom, all that good stuff. And it got me thinking about, when's the last time you trusted your intuition and made a decision based on that? And what's the last time maybe that you didn't trust your intuition and made a decision on that? And I was thinking about this, and I came up with two things. First, to be perfectly transparent, what I came up with was, I got to do some work here. I probably have some imbalance. I think I have some imbalance going on right now with my third eye, because when I started thinking about the themes of the third eye and the theme of wisdom and intuition and imagination, openness, open-mindedness, and then I thought really about, when is the last time that I used my intuition? Like, I really tapped into my intuition to make a decision and move something forward. And I really couldn't think of it. I was like, I don't know. I don't know when that was. And then I thought, well, when was the last time I had that gut instinct, right? That intuitive reaction, and I ignored it. And I went, maybe I can think of a few of those, right? We talk about things like a mother's intuition, right? A mother always knows. And so I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about intuition and how we can interpret that and what that energy means. Because it's not necessarily like ESP, like you're not reading minds, right? I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about energy and how we use energy to pick up on things that are a little more subconscious, right? That are a little more metaphysical than just what we directly see and hear. So tonight we're diving into the third eye chakra, which is all about intuition and wisdom and self-awareness and all these good, rich, woo-woo things. We are going to talk about, though, these woo-woo things and how they show up at work, because they do. So I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight on Training Tuesday, and I would love for you to share with me in the chat, how much do you rely on your intuition? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, and 10 being 100% all the time, where do you put yourself on the scale of, I use and trust my gut instinct, my intuition? Scale of 1 to 10, just drop it in the comments. 1 being, don't trust it at all. Don't even, every time my gut tells me something, I run and do the opposite thing. Versus 10, which is the minute I get that intuitive hit, right? The minute my gut speaks up, I go with it. I know it knows the right thing. So where are you guys in terms of your intuitive hit? Tracy's at a 9, good. Nancy's at an 8, awesome. You guys are trusting yourselves. We've got Regina at a 4. Jill at an 8, 9. Yeah, see, we know this, right? And they talk about how women are more intuitive than men, and I want to talk a little bit too about why we have this perception around that. So Joyce is at a 3. We got Regina at a 4. So we got some work to do here, my friends. Part of being intuitive and part of having that sense open to you, it's your ability to take in energy. Right? A lot of times when we are not tapping into our intuitive sense, it's because we're so busy doing the things that we're not sitting back and listening to ourselves. So I do want to talk a little bit more about that and how we tap into that. So Pamela, I keep breaking up. Am I breaking up for anyone else? unfortunately shows clear on my end, so I can't tell if the streaming isn't working, and which means I can't tell if it's happening on my end or your end or Facebook's end. Welcome to Facebook. So let me know if you guys are having a bad signal, because if it's bad for it's bad for my dog. If it's bad for everybody, I can try to restart this. So all right, here. My dog has had his say. All right, so just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going here. So happy to have you all here tonight. I'm going to dive in just a moment. Before I do, I want to say hello. My name is Natalie Hahn. I am CEO and your head coach at Dirty Girls Consulting, and you are at Training Tuesday inside our group, Accelerating Leadership for Professional Women. And we are here tonight to talk about all things to do with leadership and confidence and managing work, managing life, managing relationships. We cover the spectrum. And one of the reasons we do is because how we show up at work and what we do at work, right? That energy we bring to work, the person who shows up at work is the person who shows up at home. Might show up in slightly different flavors, but we show up the same, right? Who we are, what is the phrase? How we show up anywhere is how we show up everywhere. And that would be the truth. So, okay, good. I'm glad the signal's a little bit better now. Welcome to live, right? We got breaking up signal and we got my dog barking. So, yay. So this series, if you haven't joined us, if this is your first time on Training Tuesday, we've been doing a series for the past 6 weeks now. This is week 6 on the chakras and how chakral energy, how it shows up, right? And this is not meant to be a thesis on your philosophical or your religious beliefs or anything like that. The reason we're talking about chakral energy is because this gives us a way to focus our energy and to think about different parts of our energy and how it shows up and how it impacts our lives. So we started 6 weeks ago with the root chakra, all about stability and safety. We then had a session on the sacral chakra, all about kind of where our emotions live and creativity. We talked about solar plexus. Camera doesn't go down that low. Solar plexus chakra, which is where our sense of self and confidence and a little bit of purpose lies. Talked about our heart chakra, how we relate to other people, how we are open to connection both with ourselves as well as with others. Last week was the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is the connector, really, between all these other chakras that we just talked about and the one we're talking about today, which is the third eye. And the reason it's a connector is because it's the in-between zone between these other chakras are all about ourselves, our energy in ourself and how we're nurturing it, how we're harnessing it, how we're using it. The throat chakra is where that energy comes out. And now we're sharing it with the world. And tonight, third eye chakra is a whole lot more opening around how our energy interacts with the world energy, not just what we give and how we show up, but what we take in from that. And this is where our sense of intuition comes from. This is where our wisdom comes from. Sense of purpose even is all shaped by this. It's all shaped by our other chakras, but it's also shaped by now our open-mindedness and our openness to the rest of the world through our energy. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to get into the heady stuff. Are you ready? Okay, third eye chakra, known as the Ajna. Now, I've heard it pronounced Agnya, but I've also heard it more often pronounced Ajna, the Ajna chakra. Between your eyebrows, right there, third eye. So when you see all of those Hindu and other imagery where they have the third eye there and you think, oh, that's creepy, it's actually wisdom. That's what it represents. The third eye, known as the seat of intuition. In Sanskrit, Ajna translates as to perceive, beyond wisdom, and even command, right? And so this is all about, again, our perception and energy of ourselves to the world and how we use that energy. So, center of the forehead. This is our center of our self-awareness, of wisdom and imagination, of visualization, clarity, discernment, things like this, right? So this is where all the heady stuff starts to happen. But it's the heady stuff in connection with the energy that's out there in the universe. right? It's where it leaves our body and combines with the rest of us. So when you think about the idea of self-awareness and imagination and visualization and wisdom and intuition, where do those show up for you at work? Share with me in the chat, when you're at work, where do these ideas or characteristics of self-awareness, of intuition, wisdom, vision, clarity, where do those come up for you? And it doesn't really matter what your role is. I'm sure that somewhere in what you do every day, one or multiple themes around this come up, right? Awareness, self-awareness, for example, in how we're showing up. That's one way it shows up at work. How aware are we of how we're presenting ourselves, of how we're speaking, of the energy that we're bringing to the table, whether it's in a conversation with our coworkers or over a Zoom call or in a one-on-one. That's right. So let me know where these qualities show up for you at work. Could be, or not could be, is, right? Intuition. How are we tuning into other people? How are we tuning into the energy that they're bringing to the table? To what they're saying, to what they're meaning, right? The words behind the words, because there's always a little bit of that going on. To how they're standing, like body language, stuff like that. Right? What do we have Nancy said, in a meeting, listening to others. Yeah, looking and looks from others. When you listen to others, the looks from others show up. True. So you can glean a lot of information about people, right? By watching them. By watching how they show up individually, by watching how they show up in a group meeting, by watching how other people react to them. You get a really good sense of their energy, of their intention, and of who they are. Jackie makes me aware of how I change my speech depending. Yeah, exactly. Which is, we do the same thing. We modify our own energy, our own cadence, and how we show up depending on who's on the receiving end. And I want to challenge you guys to think about that, because that is one of that's a fine line, right? And this is where our third eye is important, because what Jackie's talking about is a fine line between being responsive to who you're with and the energy that's around you, and being subservient to it. I couldn't think of a better word than subservient, but that's it. Being reactive to it, right? There's a line between adjusting your message because you want to deliver it in the way that it's best going to be heard, versus delivering your message in a way that you are trying to make sure the other person likes it and that you're liked as a result of it, right? So we have to pay attention to our intention when we use tools like that. Pam, yeah, the story we tell ourselves, exactly. And that's what happens, right? A lot of the times we are interpreting other people's reactions, looks, as you mentioned, right? Their reactions, their comments, their speech. But if we do it in a vacuum, it's not intuitive. It's just a story we're telling ourselves that may fit another storyline that we already had going on. So really tapping into the third eye energy is about truly being intuitive. And being intuitive and having your third eye open is about openness, open-mindedness. It's about conceiving all the possibilities. It is about trusting our gut. It is about accessing creativity and imagination, innovation, right? It's where truly new things come up. It's also our willingness to follow a wild idea, to follow the wild hare down the rabbit hole and see what comes of it. Now, keeping this chakra open is what keeps our mind open. It keeps us spinning and alert, and it helps us with our sense of purpose. So I want you to think about this. How do you know who you are? How do you know what your purpose is? How do you know what you are about in this life and what your goals are? all of our other chakras that we've talked about today, they do influence that, right? All the energy around what makes us feel stable and safe, what triggers our emotions, both of joy, of sadness, of anger, of accomplishment, right? How we feel about ourselves, our confidence and our capabilities, the way that we open ourselves up to other people and connect, the way we use our voice, right? All of these things impact who we are. They have an impact on how we show up at work and at home. But our third eye chakra takes all this energy, mental and emotional and physical energy, and it says, here, trust this. It says, trust this. And this is where the intuitive piece comes in. Because now you're taking all this energy and you're sharing it with the universe, and the universe is sharing back. Trusting this, trusting all of your mental and emotional and physical energy. This is where intuition comes from. This is where self-awareness lives. This is how we start to find our vision, and this is where we find our wisdom. I want you to think about what we truly mean by intuition and wisdom. It's not a pull it out of the universe, pull it out of the, pull it out of the air thing. It was given to me, right, by some universal force. It's not that. Our wisdom and our intuition is a culmination of energies. And that culmination of energies comes from all of our experience, all of our knowledge, all of our history, our emotions, what we know, what we feel, what we think, what we believe, how we feel physically. It's all of that combined with what are we taking in from the universe. Now, when I'm on a coaching call with somebody and they're talking and they say something to me and I get an intuitive hit, that intuitive hit isn't me magically tapping into the spirit world and, getting a look from down below. That is me keying into, you've just said something that is out of alignment with your energy. And if I'm listening well enough, I should be able to hear that. So when I talk about intuition, I'm talking about how we use all of our senses, all of our skills, our experience, our history, and being in the present moment to connect our energy with the energy of the person, the room, wherever we're at, to say, I understand. Because you're understanding at a deeper level. This is what we call wisdom, right? It's all of our experience, tied in with all of our opinions, tied in with everything we see and hear that can be scientifically proven. This is wisdom and this is intuition. This is where it comes from. So the next time that you're concerned about the kind of woo-woo sense of intuition is somehow, I just know people. I am super sensitive to people. Yeah, you probably are. And you probably do know people well. But your intuition is coming from your ability to synthesize all of this energy you already have and open it up to the universe and receive the other energy. And then have the wisdom and knowledge to put that other energy in context that makes sense for where you are in the present moment. Now, this is why I want to take a quick moment to mention, when we talk about women being more intuitive than men, this goes back to themes that I've talked about in the past, and I'm sure I'll talk about again when it comes to gender dynamics, right? So if you've been in my group for a while, when I talk about gender dynamics and gender communication, which is another heavy theme in terms of my training, it's because I work from a foundational belief that men and women are different. And that's a kind of a core tenet of mine. So if you don't agree with that, you're not going to agree with anything else I say. But my basic premise is that men and women are different. We are biologically different. We are chemically different. We are wired differently. And that wiring impacts how we think differently and how we manage our emotions differently. Okay? So given that framework, going back to hunters and gatherers 10,000 years ago, right? Our training was what? For the most part, men were the hunters. They went out, they killed the antelope, the bear, whatever it was, and they brought it back to provide. And in the process of hunting, it's a very single focused activity. It requires certain sets of skills from them that literally over thousands of years they've been trained to do because this is a survival tactic. It gives even modern day men, because our brains have changed a whopping 3% in 10,000 years. That's how much change scientists have said has actually happened within our cranium. In 10,000 years, 3%. We still have a lot of wiring that goes back to caveman days that says, caveman, provide security, provide safety, provide stability, provide food, go hunt. And to go hunt, you have to be single focused to be successful. Modern day woman makes her nuts because he can't see all the things that need to happen in the house. He can only see the one thing. Women, for the most part, again, I am generalizing, hunters were the gatherers. We were the ones going out getting the berries. We were the ones going out looking at harvest. We were the ones at the same time were the gatherers, were the child care providers, were the health care providers, we are the house cleaners, right? Even back in the caveman days, we kept hearth and home and did all of these other things for survival, which means our brains are wired to pay attention to a million different things at once. So we are wired already to key into other people, to key into their thoughts, into their energy, into their movements, right? Because we're picking berries, and at the same time, we're trying to figure out which berries are poisonous and which ones are not. We're keeping a side eye on the child who's running around the field, and we're trying to make sure that some sort of wildcat or bear doesn't get him. So we are trained, right? Our minds are wired already for what we call diffuse focus, which is paying attention to a lot of things at once. It is much easier then for a woman to tap into her intuition because she's already trained, right? And this training continues to modern day women from birth because we are trained to please others, which means even in modern day, we are trained to key into other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, right? So we're already wildly trained to use our intuition. It gets blocked because of modern day stresses and things, right? The things that pile in on us that have us kind of go, I can't deal with one more thing. I'm just going to lock down. I'm going to focus on my daily tasks. And that's it. I can't take in anything else. So I'm going to pause here because I saw a couple of comments come in. Regina, hypersensitive to negative vibes. Correct. Absolutely true, Regina. So when we're sensitive to other people's energies, the first thing we want to do is take it in and say, what did I do? What did I do and how can I fix this? Which, by the way, huge depletion on our own energy. So I'm glad you can recognize it and that you recognize that it would deplete you of your energy. Joyce says, you're too telling what to filter out. Yeah, Joyce, you're absolutely right. Because she already knows from experience as well as from her emotional state, mental state, all of that, pulling all that together. She already knows this is not healthy for me. I have to back away from this. So cool. You guys got it. So when we talk about intuition, this is what we mean. It's the synthesis of everything about us. And yes, we are more wired than men to be able to tap into this more easily. We are also more wired than men not to have the filter to block out the stuff like Regina's talking about, to block out the negative. So it's something that we work on, right? When I'm working with women in coaching, this is one of the things. This now becomes a conversation about boundaries. So it's a practice. It's a practice. We may have the wiring. We don't have to let the wiring control us. That's a big thing. Joyce, scientific people, when you hear all the things. Yes, that is absolutely true. So there's single focus, which is men, one thing at a time. And the beautiful thing about it is when a man starts a project, he gets it done because he is focused on that thing from start to finish. We are the ones. Now, I want you to think about this in terms of COVID. I know I'm going a little bit off track here, but think about this in terms of things like COVID, right? Where we're all at home. So when you're balancing home and work in the same house and there are household chores to do and you say to him, take out the trash, he takes out the trash. The trash gets taken out. Now let's just say it takes him 7 minutes to empty the trash barrel, go put it in the bin, take the bin out to the curb, come back, replace the garbage bag, right? All that. Nothing else happens but taking out the trash. He doesn't pick up the toys that are in your front sidewalk along the way. He doesn't sweep the kitchen and get the dirt off the floor as he's dragging the garbage out. Nothing else happens, but the garbage gets taken out. We, however, in that same 7 minutes, will have started a load of laundry, we'll have started washing the dishes, we'll have swept that part of the floor that we knew needed to be swept up. We will have rearranged the sofa cushions, and we typically end up with about 14 things half done. So what makes us crazy about them is single focus. What makes them crazy about how we operate is we can do a lot more, but it doesn't always get finished because we're not focused on it. There's pluses and negatives, let's say challenges to each mindset, and we have both. Both men and women have the capability of doing both. We're wired to lean more one way than another typically. Separate topic. All right, let's go back to our third eye chakra, your intuition, your sense of purpose, right? That also comes from how do we develop that goal or that sense of purpose for what we want in our life? The combination of who we are, same as our intuition, combination of who we are and what's happening in the world. And what's happening in the world that we emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually want to go tackle. All right, how do we know when we're out of balance? Out of balance. When the third eye is out of balance, there's an awful lot of worrying going on. There's an awful lot of self-doubt. There's closed-mindedness. There's this sense of limited options, feeling lost, feeling confused, relying on others for validation. We don't make up our own minds. We're indecisive. So we're looking for others to validate what we think or how we feel or what we want to do because we're hesitant to take it on ourselves. We lack our focus. We lack our sense of purpose. We feel disconnected from our intuition. And if you're somebody who's had a strong sense of intuition before, you notice the lack when you get disconnected from it. That's a big key. If you've been particularly intuitive in the past, then suddenly realizing there's a little bit of a blank there and you're not sure what to do. Because typically when we're intuitive and we're relying on our intuition, we're also pretty decisive. We take what I know in the moment. What is my gut telling me? Boom, we take action. So when the intuition part is lacking, that's when we start asking all the questions and asking people for their opinions. Being really rooted in the physical world. Being really tied to other people's opinions. A boss has to tell me what to do. Somebody I view as in some way a guide to me or mentor me has to tell me what to do. That kind of reliance is it. The opposite end of it, when we're out of balance, is we're so rooted in our daydreams, we're not getting reality done. So we can be out of balance either way. We can be so rooted in getting the day-to-day done that we've not opened our mind to all the other energy. Or we can be so much in this other sphere of our ideas and our visions that we're not rooted in reality. So chakral energy, and we talked about this in the last few sessions too, it is about a balance, finding the balance. Physical signs that you might be out of balance, and I always caveat this is not medically proven, but the idea is that if we have energy centered here and the energy is out of balance, it's going to affect us physically as well. So out of balance physical signs might be tension, migraine headaches in general, eye strain, blurred vision, sinus issues, sometimes hearing problems, dizziness, ear ringing kind of stuff, concentration, just the ability to concentrate, sleep disturbances, not sleeping well, nightmares, bad night visions, night terrors, mental fog. I'm going to be perfectly honest, when I started putting this list together and looking at it, I thought, oh, having your third eye chakra blocked is like going through menopause. I can't tell the difference right now. So maybe it's just menopausal signs. Maybe it's my third eye. I don't know. I can't do really too much about the menopausal stuff, so I'm going to focus on my third eye for the next couple of weeks and see how I do. But I just had to share. That is something that came up for me. All right. How do we bring it back into balance? The color for the third eye chakra is indigo, so a deep bluey purple color. If you're going to use physical movement, which I always recommend for shaking up your energy, I always recommend physical movement. If there's no other physical movement available to you in terms of a sports activity, I always recommend turning up the music and dancing, because dancing always shakes up your body energy. But I always also recommend a few yoga poses. So downward dog is a pose that's recommended for your third eye chakra. Lotus, so sitting with your legs crossed and nice and your feet nice up and on your Your feet are up on your ankles, basically, your crossed feet. A headstand pose. So plow pose, I think this is called, but also a shoulder headstand. So if you can't access the full headstand, we can all do some form of plow pose. I'll be perfectly honest, it's not pretty, but it's doable. So that's when you're laying on your back and you're using your shoulders as your base. So the headstand, it's a shoulder stand. It's not really, it's not just on your head like we used to do in gymnastics, okay? It's a shoulder stand. But what you do is you lay flat and you pull your legs up over and you lift them straight up in the air. And you can use your hands. You can also look up plow pose, by the way, and shoulder stand pose. They will show you better images than I could do. But basically, you're laying flat. You're laying flat. I got to see if I can see this. I got to look at the camera for a minute here. You're laying flat. You throw your legs up in the air back over towards your head. This is your head, so towards your head. And then you can use your hands to support your bum and lift your legs straight up. That's a shoulder stand. Plow pose, you can do the same thing. Lift yourself up and you fold your legs back over your head. So they're back over you. I actually really like that one. Just like I said, I don't think it's a particularly pretty yoga pose, but it's a good stretch, honestly. And it's good for your third eye. Now, Pam said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and move. Yeah, honestly, any movement helps. Any movement, physical movement does a really good job of shaking up your energy, helping you get to a different place so that if you're in an energy space that you're not happy and you're not comfortable and you know or you want to move it to someplace different, physically move your body. It's the best place to start. Meditation, so breathing, right? Breathing. When you breathe, imagine light emanating right from your third eye. Just imagine pulling light out, that's your energy, and pulling light in, and that's the universal energy. And breathe. And the mantra that vibrates with this sound of this, the vibrational sound of this chakra is Om. Om. It's the one we hear all the time. Om. Mantras we might use. So if we're going to use mantras that are the full sentences that we repeat to ourselves to help us stay focused, especially during meditation, you want to put it around exactly your intuition. I honor my trust and my intuition. I learn from my experiences. I am connected to the universe. I have clarity and peace of mind. I look inward and outward for wisdom. I am receiving and trusting. I think trust is a really big key word for this chakra because that's where our intuition comes in. That's where our self-awareness comes in. This is where wisdom and vision all come in. If we're not trusting ourselves, if we're not trusting all the energy of our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual states, we can't get there. We can't access it. For those of you who like the gemstones, you meditate with gemstones or you use them in any other sort of rituals, gemstones that help with the third eye chakra are tanzanite, iolite, sodalite, sapphire. Amethyst is good in this area. Labradorite, black obsidian, citrine, and clear quartz. Citrine and clear quartz I want to mention because citrine goes across several chakras. It's really good for your solar plexus chakra. It's also actually can be good for your throat chakra, right? Because citrine is all about clarity and mental acuity. Clear quartz is one of those kind of universal gemstones. It's good for all the chakras. Use it for all of them, right? Clear quartz, being clear, right, emanates all the colors and is reflective of all the colors. And so that one, anytime that you're looking for a gemstone and you don't find one in quite the color that you're looking for to match your chakra, grab a clear quartz. Essential oils, if you're looking for the full sensory experience in terms of getting yourself back in alignment. Frankincense, rosemary, sandalwood, patchouli, and myrrh are the ones recommended for this chakra. The last thing I want to mention about your third eye chakra, and I'm open to questions and stuff, guys, in the chat if you've got any about this one, because I know this one, like I said, it's a little more woo-woo out there than the topics we normally talk about. But open-mindedness, critically important for the third eye, because this is where we connect. And so as long as we're keeping our mind open to experiences, to ideas, to opportunities, this is part of how we increase and gain wisdom and experience and intuition, and it's also how we access it. So creating a personal connection, a stronger personal connection with your intuition includes a practice of keeping an open mind. And how do we keep an open mind? We explore new things. We might try a new sport or a new activity. I saw your comment, Joyce, you can't bend like that. Maybe you should try it. Keep an open mind. You might be surprised at what you can actually do. You might try listening to different music. If you are a regular listener of country music, try classical. If you love jazz, try pop. But you want to shift, right? You want to try something different and listen for what makes this appealing to other people. What is the beauty in this? What is the appeal of this that other people follow this and I haven't yet? And it doesn't mean you're ever going to like it, and that's okay. What you're opening your mind to is the experience. You could change up day-to-day stuff, cuisine, cook something different, try something from a country that you've never been to or never even heard of. Try with a spice that you've never heard of. See what happens. Reading. Read authors. If you're like me, I'm a literature fiction junkie. I love, and even better, I love mystery novels. I love sci-fi and fantasy novels, right? So all the really good beach reading stuff. I was a lit major. I read high literature too, but I love stories. So for me, stepping out of my comfort zone is something like nonfiction. It is something more like journalistic reading. And I found there's a ton of books that I actually like that fall in those categories. Romance novels are not in my vein, but doesn't mean there aren't good romance novels out there. And I'm telling you, I pick them up now and then. Reading things outside of your comfort zone, outside of your usual, is giving you exposure and opening your mind. So open-mindedness is, if you do nothing else, if you don't meditate, if you don't do yoga, if you don't play with gemstones, do this. Right? Do this. Make a conscious effort to pursue things that you wouldn't normally pursue. And that's part of keeping this all clear, because you're keeping yourself open, your energy open to the new experiences. You know, Jackie, it's my favorite too. Of all the chakras, this one is my favorite. Maybe it's because it's the connection of all of them as far as I'm concerned, including the crown, which is where we'll go next week. Pam, maybe get a little, yeah, absolutely. Get uncomfortable to get comfortable. I think the first person I heard use that phrase, and it doesn't mean it came from her, was I just forgot her name, Jillian, the workout lady Jillian, who used to yell at people. I think she was on The Biggest Loser. But I did a yoga video of hers once, and she kept repeating that phrase, we got to get uncomfortable to get comfortable, kind of thing. And it just stuck with me. Anyway, that, my friends, is what I have to share with you tonight about the third eye chakra. There's always a ton more to talk about, but we don't have time. So I'm going to let you go here tonight. As always, I'm going to invite you guys to what we call the Dirty Girl Mini Dig. So if you want to talk about your third eye chakra, if you want to talk about intuition and how to tap into it more, or your sense of purpose, your clarity around your goals, what you're going after, where you are in your career, where you want to go, I invite you to a Dirty Girl Mini Dig. It's a free 15-minute coaching conversation. We're there just to focus on you and getting you one step closer to your goal. So it's not a sales conversation, it's a coaching conversation. And it's free. So I'm going to invite you to sign up by dropping the word dig in the chat. If you drop the word dig in the chat, I will reach out to you. Thank you, Pam. It was Jillian Michaels. If you drop the word dig in the chat, I will reach out to you. We will schedule some time to get to know each other better and to move you closer to your ultimate goals. And maybe part of that is just getting clarity on what those goals are. Thank you for joining me tonight for a little bit about your third eye chakra. And namaste, my friends. Have a great Tuesday, and I will see you next week.